Well, good afternoon. If it's Monday, 3 o'clock Eastern Time, it's Mondays with Michael live here on Facebook. Thanks for joining today. If you're watching this while we're live, say hello if you're in the room. Give us a shout out. If you're watching this post session, thank you for checking it out. And thanks for the feedback. We're getting really good feedback. So folks I see online, ping me with nice little comments. From time to time, I'll be out in the community networking, and somebody will come up to me and say, Michael, that Mondays with Michael Live, I learned a little something, I'm applying something a little new, and that's great. That's great. Just here to share some thoughts, ideas around leadership, supervisory skills, HR, training, and some personal development topics like today. If you're not following us on social media, please do. Follow us here on Facebook. We're out there on LinkedIn, Twitter. So just kind of follow us. We post some stuff about all those topics, and we love your feedback, so please give us feedback along the way. Today's session is really about you. It's about maximizing your time. One of the programs we offer, and we don't actually teach it as often as I used to teach it. I used to teach this program pretty regularly, was our time management, time mastery program. And one of the beauties of it was that you got to take a personal assessment around your time management behavior. And so this is the assessment. This is what it looks like. So I'm just going to go through some of the tips that I give during the class that I teach, the 12 areas that we actually measure. If you would like to take this assessment for yourself, it's a great feedback tool on how you're spending your time. The goal of the program, and when I coach executives, I always use this assessment when I coach executives for a couple of reasons I'll get into as I go through the process. But I always tell executives, I always tell the class, my goal in the class is to try to find you 2 to 3 hours more a week. If I can find you 2 to 3 hours more a week, every week, what more can you get done? With 3 hours more a week, what more would you do? Would you go to the gym? Would you read a book? Would you go see a movie? Would you go hang out with some friends? What would you do with 3 hours more a week? And that's the question. But we have to find that 3 hours more a week. We have to find that 3 hours more a week. So participants take the assessment, and as I said, I'm happy you take the assessment, but then there are 12 areas to look at. The first area we look at is attitude, personal attitude around time mastery. So what I tell folks is that if you think you can control your time, you will. If you think that time controls you because your time is just taken by everybody and you let them take your time, then you're going to have a poor time management result. So attitude is very important. You have to believe that you can control what happens in your life. Now, that said, life happens, interruptions happen, things happen, and that's okay. It's your ability to manage those interruptions and to manage those distractions and to manage those changes will keep you in control of your time. So personal attitude around managing your own time is very, very important. The second thing we look at is goals. Setting goals. What are your big goals? What are the goals on your personal side? What are the goals on the business side? What are the goals on your relationship side? What are the big goals? These are the big chunks, the big projects I need to get done. I need to write this proposal for this client, and it's got to be due by the end of the month. Big, big goal, something big. Or I'm doing a marathon next year. I'm running a century ride next year. I want to get married next year. Big goals, big goals. So that's the big goal. You need to write it down. You need to be focused on it. But that's where we start with the time management program is what are the big things you want to accomplish? From goals, we get to priorities. So you have this big goal now. What are the priorities? What are the next 10 steps for you to get from point A to point B? And based on that, what are the priorities? What is the most important thing that needs to get done right now? Rather than the thing that's the least most important, maybe toward the back end of the goal. What is the most important thing you need to get done right now? What are the priorities of the project or the goal that you just established? Then is analyzing. We analyze where you're spending your time. And when I coach executives using this tool, I always analyze where they're spending their time. I give them a set of documents that they analyze where they spend every minute of their time over the course of 2 weeks. Then they send that information to me and I process that information. And we have a conversation at our next coaching session around where they're spending their time. Needed to find out, I find a lot of wasted time in these 2 weeks that we assess with the executives we coach. I can easily find them 3 hours a week just by repetition and things that they really don't need to do when they're doing them and how they're wasting their time. So definitely analyze where you're spending your time. Then there's planning. How often do you plan your day? Researchers say that if you spend 3 to 5 to 7 minutes a day planning your day, either in the morning or at the evening before you come in the next day, it will make you so much more organized and so much more productive. So spend a few minutes every day organizing your day. Either do it in the morning when you get to work or do it in the evening before you leave for the next day. We should always spend some time organizing your day, planning your day. And then scheduling. If you're working on this big project and you have timelines for the big project and you have priorities in those timelines, obviously things are going to happen to mess up that timeline, to mix it up. But the beauty of scheduling is once you put your program in your schedule or your project in your schedule, then you can use blocks of time to move things around because you have a plan. If you don't have a plan, you're just going to kind of shoot from the hip. But by scheduling and then having to change that schedule, you move blocks of time. In my Outlook, if you look at my Outlook, I have personal stuff, I have business stuff, I have it all planned, social stuff. So if things move, we move blocks of time. And you can do that with projects also. Just move blocks of time. Yes, the hands are going here. It's the Italian thing. Interruptions. We all get interruptions. We all can't work at home in a home office like me. So I don't get a lot of interruptions other than the phone ringing once in a while or maybe Sharon coming downstairs and knocking on the door. So we don't live in that environment. But for clients of ours that live in that environment, a lot of interruptions. I always tell participants and executives, you control the interruption. You decide whether the person coming in your office or the person that's calling you interrupts you or not. There are a couple of tips and techniques we show people in the training class on how to manage interruptions. And one of the most important things you can do is stand up. And I'm going to do that right here, right now. You can't see me, but I'm standing up. By standing up in your office, when the person comes in your office to take time, you're now at the same eye level. And you can determine based on the information whether that interruption should happen or not. Or reschedule that meeting. I can't talk to you right now. I'm in the middle. I'll come back in an hour. I'll give you 10 minutes. You control the interruptions. Meetings. Meetings. I work with a lot of teams that have meetings just to have meetings, Spend more time talking about the Nationals or the Capitals than they do about work projects. If you're going to have a meeting, have an agenda, have a purpose, start the meeting on time, end the meeting on time, have everyone participate. But if you're having a meeting just to have a meeting, don't have the meeting. And when I do this analysis with the executives, I scratch out a lot of meetings that they really don't need to be in. They just want to be in to hang out with the crew. They don't need to be in those meetings. Scratch them off. We talk about written communications and being organized in your office. Every so often, you should organize your office space and you should clean out your office space. I do it a couple times a year. We're coming up that time of year now where everything gets kind of torn up and cleaned off and thrown out. So clean up your office from time to time, make it organized so that your communications are succinct. We talk about delegation, especially with executives. Delegate those things you really don't like to do. There are probably folks on your team that love to do stuff that you just don't like to do. So delegate those things you can delegate, and then keep the things that only you can do. I work with a lot of executives that say, you know, Michael, I really like doing this stuff over here, but I always ask them, do you need to do that stuff over there? No, I don't need to do that stuff over there, but I like doing that stuff over there. Delegate it. Give you more time to do the harder things that only you can do. You should be doing things most of the time that only you can do. Things that others can do, make sure you delegate. We talk about procrastination. Why do people procrastinate? We all procrastinate. The goal is to take the big project that you're procrastinating, cut it down into smaller parts, and so you do the smaller parts, you don't procrastinate the big things. We all procrastinate, admit we do it, and move on. And last is team time. Don't want to be someone else's interruption, and you should work with your team to make sure that the team is doing things productively in a timely manner. So that's a quick view of those 12 areas. If you'd like to take this assessment, I'll put a link in here for you to take a look at the sample report. We can do that. I'm going to wrap up today's session by wishing you happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year's, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, happy everything. We're going to take a couple weeks off, and we'll see you in the new year. We'll have a whole schedule for you. But this is Mondays with Michael Live here on Facebook. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you in the new year. Take care.